What up, players? It's Warboss Tay up in this mud. Look at this. It's my Chaos Warrior of Slaanesh. We're starting. This is how far we get today. So the paints that you'll need for this are Chaos Black or Abaddon Black, whatever your standard black color is. Screamer Pink for the highlights on the armor. For the silver, we use Lead Belcher. For the gold, we use Balthazar Gold. Dryad Bark for all of the leather. Celestra Gray for the fringe of the cloak. Then Agrax Earthshade and Nuln Oil to shade the cloak fringe. Rakeland Flesh Shade for the skin, and for the actual skin, Rakarth Flesh. Rakarth Flesh is also going to be used for the bone. And for the cloak itself, you're going to need Incubus Darkness, Sotek Green, and Drakenhof Nightshade. Believe that's it. So, thanks for watching, everybody, and hope you enjoy this part 1, how to paint Chaos Warrior of Slaanesh. Latest, players! Alright, players, let's get started painting up this Chaos Warrior of Slaanesh with hand weapon and shield. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some black, Chaos Black or Abaddon Black. Personally, I prefer the old Chaos Black. It's just a color I love so much. And we're going to paint all of the armor sections. Actually, before even this, the first thing you want to do when your model is built up, glued together, is you want to prime it. And I always prime my models with Duplicolor Sandable Gray Primer. It's flat, it's a matte. And I just want to get that out of the way because sometimes I get new subscribers and they always ask how come I don't prime my models. And I always forget to put it into the annotations. I don't even have the time to do annotations anymore, so I'm not able to I forget mentioning that. So yes, always prime your models. The reason we're doing black is because I'm kind of copying the Games Workshop Chaos Lord and Chaos Champions of Slaanesh on their website, and we're going to be doing like a purple edged armor, but the main part of the armor is black, which is why we're dousing everything in black paint, but only if it's armor. The reason I use Sandable Gray Primer, some people ask how come I use gray, it's because I don't really like the white, the way that white primer shows up. So while we let that dry, we're going to take some Incubi Darkness and we are going to paint that onto the cloak. Now, Incubi Darkness has a very awesome looking dark green tone to it, which is perfect because the cloak is actually going to end up looking slightly greenish turquoise, or turquoise with green tints and highlights. The thing is, what I feel like, and I'm glad the new Chaos Hellstriders kind of embody with their aesthetic, is that, you know, Chaos is the god of excess and pleasure, but when you're a barbarian nomad living out in the Chaos wastes, like, things aren't really suited for that. So what I think that's basically, I'm saying this is why I'm not going to paint this guy's armor purple or pink or stuff like that, because I think that's like Tzeentch's colors when you're dealing with the Norsemen, the men of the North. For Slaanesh, it's going to be more not as garish. So like, there's no like Emperor's Children Chaos Slaanesh war bands out there, but we're gonna try and come as close as possible. Alright, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some Celestra Gray. We're gonna paint this guy's shoulder stuffs. the fur trim on his cloak. So this is for if you decide to give your men the mark of Slaanesh, your Chaos Warriors, but also if you're just having a Slaanesh themed army, this can also work for you. And the great thing about Warhammer and stuff, there's no one way to paint any army, especially one that has to do with you know, chaos. The 4 gods of chaos, they're all about change, and like there's no real set way that you have to paint anything. So it's interesting to have, like, you could have 2, you know, Slaanesh armies right next to each other on adjacent tables, and they can look completely different. One could be in pinks and purples, and the other could be in, you know, blacks and somber, earthy colors, not as garish. It's all up to you. I think the freedom to choose your own color scheme and your own paint scheme is what really draws a lot of people, artistically minded people, to this hobby, which is great. We need more of that. Not just girls. I just realized, like, you never see any girl Warhammer players or hobbyists that play evil armies. At least I don't. I usually play like wood elves. That's the most sexist thing I've ever heard, Master. That's not what I meant, Igor. I'm just saying that, you know, it's interesting. Most girls prefer to choose aesthetically pleasing, quote-unquote, good armies, you know? Well, that may be the case, but we shouldn't just assume that because a girl takes an interest into Warhammers that they're gonna want to play a good army. Not just a good army, Igor, but a good army that is also very pretty on the battlefield. Oh, so you mean like Eldar? Yeah. And Wood Elves. That's right. My Sisters of Battle. Well, now, Igor, who's being sexist? I love the Sisters of Battle. Alright, well, we're going to let that dry with the blacks and everything else. We're going to take our Rakarth flesh, and this is actually going to be for if you have like skin on your model. We're going to use this. So because I'm using the Hellstrider heads, I'm going to use this on him, on his head area. And the most of the models that I've seen where you see the Slaanesh champion's skin of his face, like when you look at if you Google like Slaanesh champion or Lord of Slaanesh, then most of them have very, very pale, pallid, but like gray skin tones or very light whitish skin tones. So what I'm doing is I'm giving a little bit more of a creamy contrast so that it looks different from the snow leopard cloak we're giving him. I just love these Hellstrider heads too. Look really, really cool. Okay. Oh yeah, and you might notice that I've shaven off the shield star. I want to do something a little bit different with that. Okay, and what else can we do before we wrap up? We are going to take, you have the old scorched brown. It's a nice dark brown, but for this you can also use dryad bark. And that's going to be the color of any leather stuff. such as the boots, the gloves, and the belt. Your blacks might still be drying, your cast black or your Abaddon black. If it is, just wait a little bit while, or you could get overzealous and slap it on. Some people might be wondering why I'm not filming at the Lady Boss's studios, and that is because I am actually, or she is actually on a trip to San Francisco, spending the holidays with the family, and I had some work obligations after my trip to LA and Seattle. I had to come back to Hawaii for, so sad that I'm gonna be away from her, but it's nice to be back at the old setup. Right, guys? Hey, I like the Lady Boss's place a little better. And of course you did, Lewis. I was hanging around by the bathroom door. I like to listen to running water. Okay, next we're gonna take lead belcher. This is going to go on all the silver bits. So silver bits specifically will be the belt buckle and the weapon head. Let the belt buckle dry a little bit more. The great thing about Slaanesh is that so much of the trim on any of the surfaces can be done in gold. So we'll do a lot of gold trim here, and we'll also do some gold trim on the armor, along with the purple. Should look really nice. Make sure you cover all the spots, and yeah, that's right. At the bottom of the axe, as well as the buckle here. Okay, we're going to next take some Sotek green, and we are going to layer a little bit of a highlight on the cloak while we wait for the other paint colors to dry. Sorry, before I do that, I'm gonna put a little bit more Celestia Gray onto the fur trim back here. I love Celestia Gray. So close to white. It's a great base for anything you're going to be doing that's going to end up with a whitish color tone. Alright, so what was I saying? Sotek green. Bada boom! We're going to just take it and we're going to slowly paint it up, layer it over the Incubed by Darkness. I'll be leaving some Incubed by Darkness in the shadows and the recesses, but Sotek green should cover just about everything and give a nice turquoise hue. Hugh Jackman as John Valjean. It's my little, this video is my little Christmas present to all the Chaos players out there who've been waiting for this Slaanesh video. Sorry it's taken me so long. Yeah, the reason it's taken so long is because I've gone through like so many different iterations of a Slaanesh tutorial. Man, I've gone through so much. It's just hard to find one that you like. It's gonna work. Okay, so we've just about finished painting the cloak. Now we're going to get started on the armor. The thing with Slaanesh armor is you want it to be shiny, which is why this Chaos Black is a great base coat. After we're done, you can varnish it with some ard coat or some gloss varnish. You basically want it to shine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to varnish it with some ard coat, hand painted on. You can also spray it, yeah, anything you want. Okay, before we do that, before we get to the purple though, let's do some gold edging. Balthazar Gold is our base coat for gold. So you're basically going to find anything you want to be gold, such as like rings, skull motifs, talismans, dangling things. Slaanesh loves dangly things. And skull motifs, because it's chaos. Yeah, if you've seen the end of my other videos, you'll notice that I kind of refer to this Balthazar Gold as a very brass looking gold. And I mean it just because it's like red-orange rather than yellow, but it covers so well. I mean, I always talk about how if you had to even think about painting the old shining gold over any color that wasn't like a brown foundation paint, it would just be a freaking nightmare. Oh, flippin' nightmare. Alright. You can also, what I've seen people do, especially, oh, it looks really cool with the new Chaos House Riders, is paint some, like 1 or 2 segments of the armor gold. So I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna take a little gold and we're gonna paint one of the shoulder sections. Give it a little bit of bling there. See that? That is gonna look super cool. Right, a little bit more, then we'll be done. Oh, this little head crest needs some more Rakarth flesh. Rakarth flesh is also your bone color, so if you have any skulls or bones that are like real skulls, not decoration. For instance, most of the Chaos Warriors models come with hanging skulls on the back of their cloaks, like this guy does right here. So we're going to take our Rakarth flesh and we're just going to go over them. Thanks to everybody who've been writing comments. Sorry, I've been sick since I got back from my trip, trying to get ready or get well in time for our holidays, you know, for Christmas. Today's Christmas Eve, tomorrow's Christmas, and I'm just trying to get myself better, so I haven't been able to look at my computer to respond to all the comments, but I promise I will soon. Alright, something like that. Gotta shake up the paint. Shake it up, shake it up, shake it up. A little bit more Celestial Gray. Yeah, buddy. is just about ready. A little bit more rack-art flesh on the talons, crazy bone protrusion sticking out of his shoulder. The talons of the snow leopard thing. We will be ready. I was so not used to, or yeah, I guess you would say unaccustomed to weather in the continental United States. So different from Hawaii that I have the air conditioner on like all the time now. Dryad bark for the rope, just because I got so used to for the last week just it being so flippin' cold everywhere. In Seattle especially. Oh man. There was a little bit of snow on the ground. I didn't see it snow, but as we were getting to the airport, there was some snow on the ground. And I was very excited. Living in Hawaii, there's no snow here unless you go climbing the top of the volcano mountain, so it's always cool. It's always cool when you see some snow. Lead belcher for the chainmail. There's only a little bit of chainmail on the front of the model. Forgot about it. So you'd be doing this when you're doing your weapons and your belt buckle. Right, we are whipping through. Let's get to the purple. So we're gonna use Screamer Pink. You want a nice a brush with a nice tip to it. So we're gonna be lining the edges. Man, I feel so discombobulated. I haven't filmed here in so long. Okay, good enough. So we're gonna take some of that. Take some Screamer Pink, and you are just going to do a line edging on all of the armor. To do a line edging, you just take your brush and you take the flat side of it and put that on. Kind of use the edge, the flat side, rather than the tip of your brush. So I'll show it to you on the shield. See how you're going to use the middle of the brush point rather than the tip. You just wipe it down along the side. If you mess up, if you screw up, don't worry. If you get too much of it on the black areas, don't worry. You can fix it up later by painting black on it, or you can go with it. So I'm just gonna go with it. And paint. Once you have the edge highlight kind of taken care of, then you can use the front part of the brush, the tip part, to kind of expand if you want to, which I'm going to do just a little bit. So you can see the edges of the shield. So you get something like that. There's a lot of room to do that, like on the shields. It's probably the simplest way to go about it, but once you have to get into these finer areas, like with the with the plates where you can't really get the flat part of the brush. And you just go in with the tip, like here by the centerpiece. Alright, just hit all the edges that you can see. And yep, there you go. This is where we're gonna end it for today. Actually, no, let's do a little bit more since we're on such a roll. Just have to paint a little bit more of the boots here in the front and up on the sides. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do before we cut it off is we're gonna take some Rakeland Flesh Shade and we are going to paint this guy's, we're gonna give him some shading on his skin. Just the face. Just the face, just the face. And not the hair, don't do the hair. Or his, I don't know what you want to call those things, his spines, his spikes. If you're doing a helmet, then you don't have to worry about this part. You'll just do the helmet as you've done the rest of the armor with these purple edgings. Alright, and there you have it. That's where we're going to cut for today. So continue watching. We'll do some more work with highlighting. You know what? Should we do the yeah, let's... Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go get some Agrax Earthshade and some Known Oil. We are just going to do this cloak. Might as well. Igor, yes, master. Be a good lad and fetch me my Known Oil, Agrax Earthshade, if you'd be so kind. Yes, master. Here is your Known Oil. Good lad. And here is your Agrax Earthshade. So we're gonna use the Agrax Earthshade first. The reason we're using this instead of the Known Oil first is that Known Oil, it's really easy to get a little bit over exaggerated or over enthusiastic, as it were, and paint too much shadows in. With Agrax Earthshade, it has a nice neutral dark brown color that you can just use to add a little bit of depth in shadows, and then the Known Oil is going to complement that. So like so, like so, like so, like so. Rather than starting with the Known Oil, not really knowing how much you're going to do, and then ending up putting too much dark shadows, starring Johnny Depp, into everything. Okay, and while we're waiting for that to dry, let's put a little bit of Drakenhof Nightshade onto the cloak, shall we? Gonna give us some nice dark colors to play with, nice shadows for when we come back. I'm dipping my brush into the shade and then into my cup of water so that it mixes on the tip of the brush rather than working with my wet palette. It's kind of like the same thing, dipping it into the paint, dipping it into my paint water, and then putting it on the cloak. Alright. while that's drying, we'll go back to the known oil. And we'll finish this guy up. I promise this is the last part we're gonna do today. Yeah, you want it to go in so that you can see where you'll be highlighting. And the next part, it shouldn't completely drench and soak and cover completely all the detail. We just want it to get into the shadows, the crevices, and the cracks. Show us where we need to be painting our highlights in part 2. So in part 2 we will continue, we'll do some highlighting, we will paint a little bit more of extreme highlight onto the armor, we will gloss it, we will get him ready and work on the weapon as well, and yeah, we'll do some fine detail, crazy freehand on the shield. So we'll see you then, thanks for watching players, see you in the next one!